Thanks for joining us again for our study of what makes marriage work. Now, if you're in a relationship that's struggling, if you're with someone who's made selfish decisions, and you find yourself slipping into that same temptation, there's a story that you need to hear, and maybe you've heard me tell it before. There's once a woman who's in a really troubled marriage. She and her husband would fight, and instead of putting her first, he would just demand that she give and she change. He tried to fix her and list all the sins that she did. In fact, during one really heated exchange, he was so angry at her, he stormed out of the room and came back with a notepad of paper. And he said, "Since you can't seem to remember what you need to fix, I'm gonna make you a list." And he started scribbling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He gave it to his wife, and she was so furious. She crumpled up the piece of paper, opened the drawer, threw it inside, and slammed it shut. Well, unfortunately, the marriage fell apart. They got divorced. But years later, she met a different man. A man who believed in Ephesians 5 relationships, to submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. And they fell in love, and they got engaged, and they got married, and her life was so radically different. The way she treated her husband was so radically different. But one weekend, her husband was off on a business trip, and she was cleaning up the house, and she opened a drawer and saw way in the back this crumpled up piece of paper. And her heart sank because she knew what it was. She collapsed on the end of the bed and unfolded it and saw that list, the demands that her husband gave. But then this light bulb went on in her head, that all the things on the list she was doing for her husband, for her new husband. Not because he yelled at her, not because he demanded from her, but because he gave to her and loved her with no strings attached. See, that's what grace does in a marriage. And if you're struggling right now, I understand the fear. You think, if I put him first, if I put her first, if I submit out of reverence for Christ, he's not going to change. She needs to fix this, but that's the trap. What can change your marriage, what can revive your marriage is not necessarily a new spouse. It's a new blueprint. And it starts with you. You first. You first. Ask God to satisfy your heart with his unfailing love and pour yourself into selfless service. That has a way of making marriage turn around and working miracles where you never thought possible. That, the choice you make by the power of the Spirit, can make your marriage work once again.